Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the summary for the day of 580 to 582 for the 26th to the 28th of September. Let's start off with the southern front. At the southern front, we have a confirmation. We previously have reported that there was a strike on the Kobakino airport, basically the airport at the Mykolaiv city. The Russian Defense Ministry basically have confirmed the strike by claiming that they have destroyed one MiG-29 over at that airbase. And over in the Kherson region, we have some geolocation. There's a geolocation of Russian forces off at this position in the southern part of the Konka River. So that confirms that the Russians are indeed there. And we have geolocation of Ukrainian forces just off Ohivka or Lvove, just along the Dnipro River. They are there. So nothing much. It's just some geolocation confirming that the front line is pretty much correct. We move on to the Zaporizhia front. At the Zaporizhia front, this is the Zaporizhia front. At the Zaporizhia front, we have some geolocation of Russian and Ukrainian forces. This one is the Ukrainian forces in the north of Zerebianki and the Russian forces on the eastern part of Zerebianki as well. Geolocation by Dnipro, Osin, and Crimea Caprice. So the front line did not change much over the Petikaki region. The Ukrainian forces basically have given up trying to attempt to attack over there. Over at the Orikhiv sector, we have information from Ryba saying that foreign mercs has been deployed to Mala Tomashka and Novonelivka. So we do not know much about these guys yet, so we shall continue to monitor. Most likely they'll be sent down to the front line for sure, especially maybe to break through the Novoprokopivka's defense or Verbove, since foreign fighters are pretty much treasured by the Ukrainian forces to be able to do assault. And there is fighting reported on the western part of Robotine, according to Maroshinikov and Deep State UA from 26th to the 27th. This is the Ukrainians trying to increase the buffer zone around Robotine. Over in the southern part, there is also fighting reported in the south of Robotine, according to the Russian Defense Ministry on the 29th of September, basically in today's information. And also Deep State UA and Maroshinikov both reported about the Russian one is the Russians attacking. There is a counterattack towards Robotine, whereas the one by the Maroshinikov and Deep State is reporting on 26 and 27 of the Ukrainians' continued attack towards the south, towards Novoprokopivka from Robotine. But it looks like the latest is the Russians actually attacking northward. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces, basically the front line by military summary in the northern part of Novoprokopivka, continue to show that the Ukrainian forces have access to at least these few buildings over here where the Ukrainians are trying to break through. Whereas we have geolocation by Crimea Caprice of the Ukrainian armored vehicle over at this position, which means that the Ukrainians are continuing to progress and try to break through in this region where the Russians are holding defense lines around this northern outskirts of Novoprokopivka. So the fighting over here in the has been reported by Marashnikov mostly, and finally by Ryba, where they mentioned about this night attack by two tanks with three infantry fighting vehicles, but they were destroyed. The first vehicle was destroyed by ATGM, and then the whole attack went into chaos. There is a fighting reported on the eastern part of Novoprokopivka by Deep State UA on the 26th of September. This is just a one-time mentioned. It was not mentioned on the 27th or on the 28th. Fighting at Robove continues to be pretty much stuck within this front line around here, along this tree line. Geolocation shows that the front line is at this position, according to military summaries geolocation. The fighting at Verbove continues. The Ukrainians continue to attack from the 26th to the 27th, as per reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, Deep State UA, and Ryba. The Russian Defense Ministry then mentioned about their counterattack on the 28th. So, as I mentioned, the Russians are conducting their counteroffensive in this region here. I'm not sure if this is a sustained or this is just a one-time thingy. Fighting is reported southwest of Verbove on the 26th, according to Deep State UA. Nothing much to really talk about. And moving on from the Orekiv sector, in the Huaypole sector, we have some probing attacks, seemingly by the Russian, reported by the Russian Defense Ministry on the 27th. They mentioned that their forces, supported by artillery, repelled a Ukrainian attack at Mafopil and also at Chervony. They also, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry claimed that the Russians tried to attack. Away from the Huaypole sector at the Velika Novosibirsk sector, over this Velika Novosibirsk, there is a lot of actions around this region, although there's not much frontline changes. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported the Russians attacked south of Novodarivka. This is Novodarivka, so in the south, maybe around the Prione region, perhaps. And the same was being mentioned near Rivnopil. And then fighting was the Russians also reportedly attacking in the north of Prione, and this is actually acknowledged by the Russian Defense Ministry and Surya maps. And however, Russian Defense Ministry also mentioned about the Ukrainians sending recon in the north of Prione. Near Prione itself, the Russian Defense Ministry say that the Ukrainians are attacking on the 27th and on the 28th. They are the ones on the offensive. But pretty much this is just skirmishes. I don't think you should think of this as any major offensive actions. At Staromayoske from 26 to the 27, the Russian Defense Ministry mentioned about Ukrainians attacking in the area of Staromayoske. So probably not very big. I feel the attack. Geolocation of Russian forces south of Staromayoske by Deep State UA shows that the Russians continue to hold a strong position around this area here, where the Ukrainians cannot really break through towards Avine Bazania just yet. Over at Uruzaine, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioned that there was a Russian attack at Uruzaine on the 28th of September. But that's about it. We do not know if this is a sustained attack, but it does sound like there is a lot of Russian offensive actions around all these different places. The same thing happens over at Novodonetsk on the 27th of September. The Russian Defense Ministry Vostok Group of Forces mentioned about this. They repelled the Ukrainian attack. So that's all from the Velika Novosibirsk sector. Over at the Donetsk city region, there is geolocation of Russian attacking in the front line near this Menegeri region. Geolocation by Crimean Caprice on the 27th also show that Ukrainians are actually entrenched within this forest region where the Russians were attacking in this area here. And the Marinka situation continues exactly the same. Ukrainian Defense Ministry just repeat the same reports, just different numbers of enemy attacks on a daily basis. The fighting within the Marinka continues. And geolocation of Ukrainian forces over at this tree line shows that the Russians basically only holding this position while the Ukrainians hold this front line, very, very close to each other. There is geolocation of the Russian forces along this tree line attacking towards Krasnohorivka, and this is then confirmed by Surya maps about this advance on the 27th of September. But it doesn't feel like much. These tree lines, they just attack and then they just don't hold the ground. Moving on from there into the Adiyevka front. At the Adiyevka front, we have fighting reported at Nevelsky. The Ukrainians were attacking on the 27th, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, whereas the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that the Russians were attacking on the 28th. And over at Pervomaisky, there is fighting reported on the 26th and the 28th, according to the Russian Defense Ministry and Deep State UA. So we don't really know much. The Ukrainians just continue to be attacking this area here. They are also reportedly attacking Vodian, according to the Deep State UA and Russian Defense Ministry on the 26th to the 27th. And the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that there was a Russian attack in the southeastern part of Chervony. So yeah, so we will continue to monitor and see what is all these things about. It's just very confusing. All the attacks just come here and there. No, there doesn't seems to be a trend or a pattern to it. Geolocation of the front line by Crimean Caprice over just on the northwestern part of Opitny. show that the Russians were attacking in this area here. So the Ukrainians are definitely holding this position very close to Opitny. And the Russian Defense Ministry continued to report about fighting near Khimik, but this is only on the 26th of September. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that there was a fighting over on the south of Avdiivka. They said that the Russians tried to recover lost positions, and I'm not sure if this is actually referring to Opitny, because Ukrainian Defense Ministry is not very specific about this kind of thing. Fighting is reported at Vasily on the 28th, and over in the southwestern part, there's an attack. Also over at Krasnohorivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, on the 26th to the 27th. So basically that's it from the Avdiivka front. There is no clear frontline changes around this area here. Over at the Bakhmut front, in the southernmost part, there was a report of fighting at Mayos, according to Marashnikov on the 28th of September. But Marashnikov didn't do mapping, so we do not know what is exactly happening. The Ukrainian forces continued their attack on Ozeryanivka on the 26th and the 28th, according to Marashnikov. Same thing over Kodyomivka. Most of this information come from Marashnikov, so no one else is really talking about it. So we have to take this with some pinch of salt. But yeah, Marashnikov have all this information, but no one else is talking about it, which is, yeah, we do have to take a pinch of salt in that sense. Over at the Andriivka region, there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces along the railway, so that shows that the Ukrainians have succeeded to at least capture part of the railway system where they can actually push out from in the southern part of Andriivka. The fighting at Andriivka continued to be reported by Ryba Marashnikov. Like I mentioned, most of the information is coming from Marashnikov, making it sounds really busy around this area here. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces in the northern part of Andriivka on the railway lines also shows that the Ukrainian forces may have a very big buffer zone around the Andriivka region. Over at the eastern part of Klishchiivka, the Ukrainian forces continue to be attacking around this area, according to Deep State UA on the 26th of September. Marashnikov reported this on the 28th, where the Ukrainian forces continue to try to fan out from Klishchiivka. There is fighting reported northeast of Klishchiivka, according to Marashnikov, on the 27th of September, whilst Russian Defense Ministry and Ryba, the Russian sources, simply mentioned about fighting at Klishchiivka on the 27th. Geolocation by Crimea Caprice on the 26th of September shows that the Ukrainian forces indeed have captured the rest of Klishchiivka, where the Russians are entirely out of Klishchiivka. So this actually corroborates that the Klishchiivka has indeed been fully captured by the Ukrainian forces. North of Klishchiivka, we have some geolocation of Ukrainian forces by Crimea Caprice, as well as basically both are Crimea Caprice. And because of the geolocation, the nature of the video shows that the Russians are actually very, very close by. So this is definitely a cause of concern for the Ukrainian forces. Over in the northern half of the Bakhmut front, we have fighting reported towards Khorivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 27th of September. There is geolocation of Ukrainian forces by Crimea Caprice over here. So this also shows that the front line does not really go very close to Khorivka just yet. Geolocation of your Russian forces inside of Orikovo-Vasilivka is very surprising. By military summary, geolocation, the Russians basically on the southern part of Orikovo-Vasilivka. So very interesting geolocation. However, in the northern part, we have geolocation along near the highway by Crimea Caprice, showing on the 26th of September, showing the Ukrainians are conducting some offensive around this area here. It was not successful, but it does show that the front line is over at this area, corroborating our mapping. Over at the Sivers front, there is a concentration of forces at Sivers, according to Ryba, and at Sperne, Russian Defense Ministry mentioned about a Ukrainian attack on the 27th. But this was not mentioned on the 28th, so definitely this is just a one-off skirmish. And over in the Crimea front, this is Crimea. At Crimea front, we have fighting reported near Khorivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And nothing much to talk about because it's a one-off. And then there's the Russians and Ukrainians continue to trade offensive within the forest region. Basically, there is a mix of information all across this entire front line. Russian Marashnikov said that the Russians are attacking within the Serebransky Forestry on the 26th. Russian Defense Ministry said the Ukrainians attacked on the 27th. Kuzmini on the 26th by the Ukrainians. Ryba reported near in the Serebransky Forestry West, basically the entire front line. The Russians are on the offensive on the 28th. Similarly, on the Dibrova on the 28th. Whereas the Russian Defense Ministry reported the Ukrainians attack from the 26th to the 28th towards Dibrova. So the entire northern part, this weird information here, this one, is not reported anymore. Likely that this salients may not exist anymore. But this is just a one weird report by the Russian Defense Ministry talking about fighting in the north of Shivnaya Dibrova, which is Dibrova over here. So we shall see whether this is a whether to eliminate this mapping soon. Torske, there was a Ukrainian Sukhoi 25 shot down over Torske, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And that's all from the Crimea front. We move on into the Sviatove front. At the Sviatove front, the Russian forces, according to Marashnikov, attack at Novoyehorivka on the 28th of September. Not sure what to make of it. No one else is talking about it. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces north of Nadia by Crimea Creperies shows the Ukrainian forces are in this area here. So yeah, there's nothing surprising about this geolocation. Over at the Novoselivsky region, there is fighting reported at Novoselivsky, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Whereas basically this is the Russians attacking at Novoselivsky from 26 to the 28. This is a consistent counter-attack by the Russians trying to recapture Novoselivsky. And a geolocation of Russian forces in the southern outskirts by Dnipro, also in the pro-Ukrainian source, showing that the Russians indeed are trying to push in and recapture the settlement. There is fight. We go into the Kupiansk front. Just nearby to Novoselivsky, there is a Russian attack near Berestove, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and basically it's just a fire attack. I don't really think this is an assault. The same thing happening over at Kaislivka, with Marashnikov saying that the Russians are attacking, as well as Ivanivka on the 27th by the Russian Defense Ministry. Sinkivka continued to be reported to have fighting. Marashnikov keep claiming that the Russians are attacking in this region. Russian Defense Ministry only corroborated on one of the days, on the 27th of September. Otherwise, it's only Marashnikov mentioning about this attack by the Russian forces over the Kupiansk front. And that's it from the Kupiansk front. And along the Russian-Ukrainian border region, there is a Ukrainian raid towards this small little town of Starosely. According to Ryba, the pro-Russian source reported the Ukrainians sabotage group tried to break through the border. It's just a small detachment of 6 men. They fight with the border guards and basically retreated. And then they just run off. So nothing much to shout about. And that's it for the SITREP, or the summary for the day of 580 to 582 for the 26th to 28th of September. So the key things are basically the Ukrainians, the Russians conducting a number of counteroffensive, which is very surprising, I would say, in a way. I wonder if this is a start of a Russian offensive or Russian major counteroffensive against the Ukrainian forces. We have the information at Robotine, as well as Verbove. We also have similar stuff happening over at Chervony, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, where the Russians are attacking in the area of Chervony. And we have others like the fighting over at Uruzhainy on the 28th. We have the Russians reported their own attack at Prione over here. And then we have some very weird reports by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry claiming fighting south of Novoderivka and Rivnopil. And then the Russians also seems to be attacking around the area in the Chervony, southeast. But this one off in the south of Adievka on the 28th again by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Then we have this fighting reported northeast of Hryhorivka. And then we have Ukrainian Russian forces geolocated within Orikovo-Vasilivka in the most southern part of Orikovo-Vasilivka, and this is actually very interesting to me. To be geolocated within the settlement itself, and at Crimea, the Russians seemingly are conducting some kind of offensive. Especially, the Russian Ryba basically say that this is Syriansky forestry all the way to the west of Crimea. Basically, the entire this area here, the Russians are actually conducting offensive. So it does sounds like a lot of offensive from the Russians. Similar, Myra Shinikov talked about Novoyehorivka. There is consistent reports of the counteroffensive at Novoselivsky. This is by the Russian Defense Ministry as well. Berestove also see fighting on the 27th. Sinkivka continued to be reported to be fighting on the 28th. So this entire myriad of reports about Russians conducting assault or offensive operation does feels like the Russians are conducting some major offensive operation, because most of these reports are coming on the 28th of September, which is very unusual for the Russians to be conducting this much attacks, and this come from both pro-Russian or Russian sources and Ukrainian sources. So we have to continue to monitor and to see whether this is actually a major offensive by the Russian side. Otherwise, do press the like button, subscribe, and if you want to catch all this SITREP consistently, and do consider supporting DPA on the Patreon, Coffee, Boosty, Locals, or the YouTube memberships on the main channel and the DPA War channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.